In a way, global warming is it's like a very slow motion nuclear explosion that nobody even notices is happening. That's the horrifying thing about it. It's like my childhood nightmares actually came true even before I was born. That's another side of it, right? So that the apocalypse isn't in the future. We're only just beginning to realize it's already happened, and this is what it looks like, a post-apocalyptic landscape. And so I think maybe post-apocalypse is better than apocalypse. You know, I think that's a very dangerous phenomenon, is the apocalyptic, where you're thinking there's this end of the world that's just about to come, you know, and you have to act. No.
But in some of it, there's great, you know, I don't know if I want to use the word, but redemption from underneath, like Princess Mononoke. You know, something emerges out of it that is strong and good.
Yeah. And I think that, for example, WALL-E is an interesting movie.
Oh, yeah.
I think that WALL-E is definitely on our team here, because WALL-E is about how sentimentality can restart Earth.
Yep.
It's about how after all the life has kind of either evacuated or died, there are still these little algorithms which are basically either like robots or they're like memes.
Right.
And the meme is sentimentalism. It's that video clip of the musical playing over and over, Hello Dolly. And that's what restarts Earth, is that. Actually, it's that refusal to give that up, right? It's that kind of I was thinking it through kitsch. I was thinking maybe there is a space for kitsch in, you know, broadly defined to include this sort of big-eyed creatures. And maybe I'm just an English whimsical guy who thinks that whimsy can save the Earth, which is something that English literature scholars have said a lot, by the way, over the years. Being whimsical is good for you, you know. So maybe there's a little problem there. But I also worry that cute beings, only one or two beings get to be cute at any time. Like from the point of view of the penguins, the seals in Happy Feet are monsters, right? And the other trouble with that movie is there's a kind of injunction there. There's a kind of secret message. I think the movie, in a way, could be translated to keep dancing or we'll have to kill you. Right? If you don't entertain us.
Yeah,
right?
No, that's
and what about beings that are not entertaining, like slime, you know, and algae and coral and things that don't.
Sharks.
You can't put cute eyes.
Yeah.
Sharks, right? Although the Nemo sharks.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to portray a shark through the discourse of the kid, you have to have a kind of Alcoholics Anonymous shark. Eating fish is very bad, and they've decided to go on the wagon. You know, fish are friends is their mantra. Right? I think that's quite a clever way to do it. So there is some mind. Yeah. So there is some energy in the sentimental.
Well, and for so long that sentimentalism and sentimentality have been associated with women, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to sort of put gender in here and recognize that, you know, men think, women feel, emotional versus rational. I mean, all those dichotomies are gendered. And if we're really going to think about feminism, something has to be done with the sentimental that other than just dismissing it.
Yeah. So my mission is, can you have sentimentality and irony simultaneously? Because a lot of romanticism is all about, well, the previous lot of poets were very sentimental, they didn't have enough reflexivity. We're going to put some of that in. And then the modernists come along and go, well, those guys were feminine writers with their ornamental language. We're going to be much more reflexive and ironic than them. And so couldn't you have like sentimentality and irony simultaneously? I think that's not a science experiment. That's more like for us, yeah. Can we find art that is sentimental and ironic at the same time? Yeah. Because sentimentality means not traditionally means it isn't reflexive. It doesn't have that kind of theory abyss in it.
So, Maria, yeah.
I agree with you about the Nemo and the family idea, because there is a new concept that's a couple, decades old, but it's becoming popular. And it's if you touch it and you feel it or you experience it, you want to see it. And the Nemo thing is a perfect example of how that solidifies. And it's, if you get sprayed by a tiger, or if you hear the chocolate, or if you hear the howl of a wolf, or if you go out there and experience this, you want to save it. You want to, you remember it, and you don't think, oh, it's an awful creature, the shark. If you ever get to see them up close, you're like, how can you
I couldn't agree with you more, but but there's a hangover from that idea. And my project is like the hangover cure. But you're absolutely right. We need some powerful experience, and I am a deep ecologist to that extent. And I think the point about these non-Christian, non-Judeo-Christian spiritualities is that they hold within them a reserve of materialism that has not yet been fully articulated in, Western philosophy. And I think that that's where the real goodies are, actually, is in that, in that sort of experience dimension. Nevertheless, the way it's posed is there are all kinds of implications there, to do with binary divisions between inside and outside. So yeah, go outside and touch the animals, therefore it's very bad to stay inside and worry about, non-animals. That's not ecological. Henry James is a good example of a non-ecological writer because all of his characters are like shut in and his prose is really big and internal and queer. And so on the recent discussion of the Association for the Literature and the Environment, they were all saying Henry James is an example, is ecological because he's how not to be ecological. Whereas I'm saying he is fully ecological because he puts you in touch with this kind of unbearable intimacy, with these 12-page paragraphs. And that's what ecology is. It's a kind of unbearable feeling of intimacy. And if you can get that through reading 12 pages of Henry James, rather than touching a shark, we need to know about that. We need to know that it's already an ecological world right now, but we don't need to do some special thing that's different. Because, and part of it is, how do I convert my friends, who are deconstructors without, pissing them off? Yeah, in a way. So there's a part of my project that's just talking to people who are very, who would think all kinds of things about touching sharks that aren't necessary. Yeah.
And the other thing I would just add on to that a little bit is that just because it's an experience of animals, either visual, culture, or physical, or whatever, there's still lots of interpretations going on. So I'm thinking about this movie that's coming out. I haven't seen it yet, but the Blue Planet. And like I know I'm gonna both love it and hate it because it's completely sort of exactly what we're hoping for of the closeness to the animals, etc. Then it's all about these three damn families, and like all of nature fit into the nuclear family, and that's what March of the Penguins was too, and that the discourse of family overtakes nuclear family, heterosexual nuclear, but reproductive heterosexual nuclear family overtakes all interpretations, and this happens this happens greatly in science when they're talking about the actions of the chimps or the ethological behavior of such and such animal, and it's all interpreted through these lenses. And I just think that anyone watching any given film could make a completely different queer interpretation, non-heteronormative interpretation of those penguins, and March of the Penguins. I mean, they look like they're having their own big orgy, not reifying the family. And I think the same is going to be true for this film coming out. So it's not a lot of everything's messy. A lot of things are happening all the time, and just closeness to animals isn't or closeness to nature isn't the only solution. It's got to sort of think through many different avenues.
The other issue there, precisely, is that proximity might also code for a kind of distance. Like, think about the Iraqi embedded reporters. I mean, one function was to make you feel like you were up close and personal with the war, for heaven's sake. Another function was to produce a little virtual reality couch potato inside your screen who could sit there experiencing the war as a kind of Jackson Pollock, through a infrared camera deal. And they'd stand there saying, well, there's the sound of gunfire and I see the traces, They wouldn't say, I hear the sound of bullets ripping through people's flesh, because that would be too much proximity. But that's the proximity we need. We actually need the kind of proximity that fully abolishes that distance, which can also be achieved through proximity. You can be up close and personal with nature and like watching it like it's a movie. Like almost all nature writing, he said, controversially, is about that. It's about like, it's the same thing as canned laughter. Like canned laughter automates humor, so you don't have to laugh, in a way. In the same way, nature writing kind of automates that experience, so you don't even have to experience it. And even for the nature writer, herself or himself, that's also the case, right?
At the same token, that if you do become close neighbors, you have to be careful, be aware of yourself, not become too close. Because then, yes, if someone sticks their arm inside a tiger cage,
You could get killed.
The tiger is wounded.
Yeah.
That's right.
You could
So
get hurt.
it's a good.
Yeah.
The chimpanzee a couple weeks ago, Travis,
Right.